Welcome back to Horn and Fin Outdoors. Keep in mind while you're watching this video, if there's anything in this video that you like and you want to go buy, check the comments and descriptions because there'll be Amazon links in there where you can click on it and go find it. Now, let's check out Tactacam's brand new camera for 2024, the Reveal X 3.0. Well, it's finally here. Tactacam has released their brand new Reveal X 3.0. It's summertime, it's 4th of July weekend. I'm out fishing, I'm probably a little bit sunburned, but all I can think about right now is setting up these cameras, getting them in the woods, and seeing what kind of animals I see on them. So I'm gonna go into this camera pretty far in depth. Now keep in mind, this video is going to be pretty long, but I broke it up into sections. So if you already have one of these cameras and you want to learn how to activate it, you can fast forward to that section. If you want to learn a little bit more about the specs, that's what we're going to cover first. And then there's different chapters in this video. So keep that in mind while you're watching this video. I know it's long. They usually are when I do these trail camera videos, but it's worth it. There's a lot of good information. So let's get started. Before I open this box up, let's talk about some of the new things that Tactacam is doing with this camera. So first of all, they are pretty much the same camera as the Reveal X 2.0, okay? They're about the same size, which you're going to see in a minute. They have the same camera photo resolution and also video resolution. They take the same batteries. It's almost the same size case. Oh yeah, I mentioned that already. It takes the same SD cards. The difference with some of these this camera over some of the 2.0s though is that there's an internal SIM card. You no longer get the two little SIM cards and you have to pick AT&T or Verizon, whichever one you want. It's internal now and it automatically connects to the best signal. Also with this camera, there is internal memory, so you do not need to have a SD card in the camera. Now, the internal memory to me is a little low. It's only 8 gigabytes. And you can put a 16 to 32 gigabyte memory card into this camera, but you don't need to if you don't want to. Now, where I think the internal memory comes in handy is in a situation where I've got one of my cameras monitoring my cabin that I have. So it's set up in the driveway. I have it send 2 pictures a day. That's just the 2 check-in pictures. And if anybody comes up my driveway, it will trigger and send me a picture. So I'm not using that many pictures every month. And having the internal memory in this thing is probably perfect for that situation. Now, if you have a situation where you are running your camera, let's say over a feeder or a food plot, and you have a solar battery hooked up to it, and you're leaving that camera out there for months and months on end, and it gets a lot of activity, you're probably going to fill that memory up. And I don't know for sure, but I think there's a loop that you can set it to, so it will delete the oldest picture and keep going. If that's something that appeals to you, great. It's a good feature for this camera to have, and it's something that it gives you another option when you're putting it out in the woods and deploying this camera. So they've also made a few changes here with the battery life. They made some changes in the camera that makes it more efficient, so it's better on battery life. And there is a built-in GPS on this camera, so if it gets lost, you might be able to go and find your camera and get it back again. But that's the main differences and similarities between the Reveal X 2.0 and the Reveal X 3.0. So that being said, let's open up this box, let's see what's inside, and we're going to get this camera all set up so you can get it out in the woods. One disclaimer I want to tell you before I get too far into this video. I am not sponsored by Tactacam. I did not get this camera for free, and this is actually the first time I'm opening up one of these cameras. I've just seen some reviews people posted online about them, so I've never dug into this camera yet. I've never activated it. We're going to do that together, and I'm not getting paid by Tactacam to make this video. The way I make money off this video is by you watching the video and also using those Amazon links that I put in the comments and the description section of this video. If you click on those links for anything you see in this video that you like and you want to buy, I get a little bit of a commission from Amazon, so it helps me make more content. Trust me, it's not a lot of money, it's not enough to make a living off of, but it's a few dollars to help me make more content, and I appreciate you using those links if this camera or anything else in this video is something you're interested in. And there we go, we got it out of the box. When I opened it up, the first thing I see is the quick start guide. I highly recommend to you that you read this quick start guide, especially if you've never set up one of these cameras before. They are not very finicky and they're pretty easy to set up, but it's a good idea to take a look at this and make sure you've got everything correct. Pull the camera out of the case here. All right, well, maybe not. The camera's in there pretty good. There we go, we got the camera out. It comes with a strap for you to mount on the tree. If you've watched any of my other trail camera videos, I don't use this strap. I don't like them. I have other options that I'll go over with you when we go to deploy this camera, but there are other mounts on the market that are fairly inexpensive and work much better than just that regular old strap. Okay, so at first look at this camera, one of the differences you're going to see between the old Reveal X is that the antenna is already attached to it, which I really like. I know they had problems with people especially the Gen 1s, where they were tightening up the antenna too far, snapping off the wire inside, and they weren't getting any signal. This helps to alleviate that problem. There is a little retainer on the side here which you can leave on or take off, and that little retainer is going to hold your antenna in place when you're storing the camera. But all you gotta do is lift the thing up, flip it up, and it is ready to go. Hopefully this antenna will be a little bit bear proof, because I do have bears that I get out at my properties and they really enjoy tearing up my cell phone cameras for some reason. But the back of this camera looks almost the same as the Gen 1s and 2s. There's little ridges here that help hold this to the tree. There are the slots for the strap to go through if you're going to mount it to the tree. There is also, like the other two cameras had, there are 2 1/4 by 20 screw holes in here for you to use a different mount, like I'm going to show you a little bit later on. That's one of the things I like about Tactacam, how they have 2 of those holes so you can have different mounting options. I do see something different here that I kind of like. There is a little loop here so you can lock the camera. I do like that. It's on the flange that opens and closes the door. So I'm gonna say it's pretty easy to defeat if you're a bad guy and you really want to, but it is a nice loop where you can run a cable through there to lock it to a tree or put a padlock on here, help you keep your camera a little bit safer. The size-wise, it looks like it is about the same size of the Reveal X 2.0. This camera, also I forgot to mention in the beginning, is just like the 2.0. This has the low glow technology in the front, not the no glow. So if that's something that concerns you, you want to go with the Pro model because that one's got the no glow. So this is low glow, so it does have little red lights that light up there when the camera triggers. I've seen it go off in the woods before. It doesn't seem to bother deer, but if you're trying to hide this camera from anybody that may be trespassing on your property, it's a good idea to go with one that is no glow. I'm going to open this up again, or open it up, and inside it looks pretty much like a Gen 2. It's very basic, and that's one of the things I like about these Reveal X's. All there is one switch, so it's off, setup, on, and then there is the test button for you to send a test picture. The lights across the top, you have your status light, you have your SD card light, you have your signal light. There's also your your Wi-Fi light. There's also your battery light, and there is your signal bars that tell you what kind of signal you have. The exact same stuff that was in the Gen 2s. Very easy to use and simple to set up when you're in the woods, and that is one of the things that I really enjoy about these Reveal X's. You just put them in the woods, flick it to setup, hit the test button, make sure the picture comes through, push it to on, close the door, and you're ready to go. That's all it takes. It's very simple. Let's pop open the battery box. The battery tray comes out. This is the same battery tray that their other cameras take. It takes 12 AA batteries. We will also talk a little bit in depth about the power options for this camera in one of the next chapters. I do see the usual seal around the inside of the door. A little tip or trick for that seal is put some sort of lubricant on that seal to keep it pliable and keep moisture out of your battery compartment. There are different kinds of things you can put on there. I usually will put on a little bit of dielectric grease. I also use the grease on the ends of the terminals for my batteries, and I use it on the connector jack for the externals that I use. That dielectric grease helps keep corrosion away, but it will also help maintain your seal on your battery box here. So I think that's pretty much it for this camera, getting it out of the box and taking a quick look at it. So what we're going to do next, since we've got this out of the box, we've talked about some of the similarities and differences between this and the 2.0, we're going to take a quick break and we will get into SD card options for this camera and also powering options, and then we'll look into setting this camera up and getting it going. So let me get a few things. I'll be right back. We've got the camera out of the box and we're ready to start setting this thing up. The very first thing we want to do is talk about SD cards, okay? So what I've got here is a SanDisk Extreme Pro SD card that is 32 gigabytes in size. It is a Class 10 U3 card, and that is what Tactacam recommends. You can use a 16 to 32 gigabyte card as long as it is a full-size card and Class 3 U10. Now, you're going to see people on Facebook groups talk about how they use a micro SD card with an adapter in the camera, or they put a 128 gigabyte SD card into their camera. And it worked. Everything, it always works for them until it doesn't work. And then they're posting in the group saying, why did my camera stop working all of a sudden? My camera doesn't work. These cameras are garbage. Trust me, you can try different things other than what the manufacturer recommends, but it may not work forever. So it may start working, you may have a little bit of luck, and then eventually it's not going to work. So what is recommended is a Class 10 U3 full-size memory card that is 16 to 32 gigabytes in size. This card has already been formatted. You need to make sure you do that before you put it in your camera. It's very easy to do. You just pop it in your computer and format it, and that prepares the card to be able to receive the information that it's going to receive in the camera. Then you open up your camera, and this card goes right into the side of the camera here, and you push it in till you hear the little click. Once you hear that little click, the card is in place and it is ready to go. That's all we need to discuss on the SD cards. Just remember, Class 10 U3 16 to 32 gigabytes full size card. I will post the link to those cards in the comments and descriptions with everything else, so you can just go there, click on it, and go buy it on Amazon. They'll send the card right to your house. Easy peasy. Let's talk about powering your camera. There are a lot of options, and I'm going to talk about what I consider to be the worst options all the way up to the best option, okay? And this also depends upon your application of your camera, how many pictures you think you're going to get, how often you're going to transmit the pictures to you, if you're going to take videos. There's a lot of different things that affect battery life. Me personally, I hate spending money on AA batteries. AA batteries are ridiculously expensive, and this card takes 12 of them. I'm sorry, this camera takes 12 AA batteries. And what I have found in my cameras, when I put them over a feeder, my AA batteries seem to only last about a month and a half. And I find that I'm changing them out when they get down to about 30%, because if I get a cold night up here in the Northeast, they usually will die and the camera shuts off. So it's very expensive and time consuming to have AA batteries that you keep having to change out every month or 2 months, depending upon the way your camera is set up. So I don't deal with AA batteries at all. I'm done with that. The next option, which is a very excellent option, is these Tactacam rechargeable batteries. Now, I did a review on these. If you want to see them, I will link it up above on the right side here. But these batteries take the place of your AA's. Now, what I like about them is they're about $50 a piece, which is double the cost of your AA's, but they're rechargeable. So once your camera goes dead or the battery gets low, you just go in the woods, pop the battery out, pop the next battery in. It's easy to swap out, boom, done, and you're ready to go. So I keep a spare couple batteries on hand at all times. I'll take the dead one home and I'll charge it up, and then I will go somewhere else and use it on a different camera. As you can see on these batteries, I like to write the date that I purchased the batteries on the back of them so I know how old they are. But this one's from December of 2022 and it's going strong. And if you take these batteries, put them in your camera, and recharge them 2 times, you've already broken even with what you are going to spend on AA batteries. Another great option that Tactacam has are these Tactacam external solar panels. Solar panels are great if you're getting full sunlight all day long. That's the key. You've got to have full unobstructed sunlight in order for that solar panel to work at its maximum efficiency. Where I hunt, I'm usually in the woods, and you'll get some sunlight on the solar panel, but it's not full all day long sunlight. So unfortunately, my solar panels have a hard time keeping up with my camera. It will extend your battery life a little bit, and there is a battery inside of this panel. It does not charge your batteries in the camera. It charges a battery that's inside of this panel. As that battery depletes, once that battery goes dead, then your battery that's in the camera will take over and go from there. So the Tactacam solar panel is pretty good. I also did a review on the solar panel that I'll post in a link up above, so you can check that one out if you want to. And I've used these a little bit, but to me, there are some better options for my application as far as external batteries go. And here's the next one. This is the HME solar battery box. Again, I did a review on this one too. I will post a link up above if you want to check it out. I've been using these HME boxes now for, I think this is probably my 6th season. And out of all the boxes I have 10 or 11 of them, I've had to change 3 of the batteries out. The batteries internal to here are a little nickel metal hydride battery. They cost about 20 bucks to change out. So you can purchase this for $50. It lasts for 4, 5, 6 years. Change out the battery for 20 bucks and you're ready to go again. The battery life on this, as far as running the camera, I can usually keep this on my camera for 4 or 5 months. Longer on some of my other cameras that get less activity. But again, the solar panel needs to be in direct sunlight. It's adjustable so you can point it whichever way you want. One thing to keep in mind with these HME battery boxes is that normally it comes with a different cable. Now I changed this cable out so it has the connector that fits on the Tactacam cameras. This is a Herd 360 cable that I purchased. I will put a link to this cable too if you want to buy the cable. But when it comes from HME, I just put a little adapter on there. I'll put a link to the adapter too. So the cable that comes with this, you just pop the adapter on there, plug it into the camera, and you're ready to go. My number one recommendation for this camera as far as battery life, durability, cost savings is this Herd 360 solar battery powered solar battery pack. I've done a lot of videos, as you can tell. I just did a review on this too, so I will post that up or put that up in the upper left hand side or right hand side. So if you want to take a look at the review I did on this, you can check it out. But this battery inside this solar panel is about 3 times the size of the battery here. And you can see the solar panel is pretty thin. The panel itself is big, but the actual box is thin. So it's 3 times the size of the batteries that come in this. So you're talking about unbelievable battery power. Truth be told, I have not put this in the woods yet. I just got it and started playing with it a little bit, checking it out on my other cameras, but I haven't put it in the woods, so I don't know how long it will last. But based on the battery capacity size and knowing how long this camera or this battery box lasts, I know this one's going to last much longer. A couple other things I like about this real quick. Now this one, just so you know, is the most expensive option. This is about $100, but it's going to be well worth it again because it's going to save you money on AA's over time. It's just a little bit more of a expense up front. On the back here, you'll see there's different options for plugging in the cables that come with this. This comes with about 4 different cables that will fit any trail camera that you're using. And there is also another feature on this that I like. It's the USB out. So you can use this on a camping trip. You can use this when you're in the woods. If you've got to charge your cell phone, you can run lights off it, little USB lights. There's a lot of different things you can do with this battery, especially on like an off-grid kind of camping trip. Take the thing, set it on a rock all day, let it get some direct sunlight and charge up, and use it to power a little fan in your tent at night, or some lights, or charge your cell phone, or anything you want to do. That is one of the great things about, great features with this HURD 360 panel, other than the gigantic battery size which is what I'm more concerned about, because I want to be able to put my cameras in the woods and just let them go and not deal with them, especially since I put cameras in 3 different states, so it's not always easy to just run around the corner and change batteries. For the purpose of this video, when I set this camera up, which we're going to get into in a couple minutes, I will be using these Tactacam battery packs, just because this other stuff, it kind of gets unwieldy when I'm trying to talk to you and set up the video. So I'm just going to put one of these battery packs in here now, and we are ready to get into what we need to do to activate this camera, set it up, get the settings in there adjusted to the way you want them, deploy it out in the woods, and start getting pictures right to your cell phone. Oh, and videos too, with sound. So let's get into that. Let's get this sucker up and running. Well, we are ready to activate this camera. So what you need to do is, first things first, is go to Tactacam's website and set up your account. You're going to enter your payment information there, you're going to create your profile, and that's what you need to do to start this whole process, because you cannot do it from your cell phone. Now, if you download the app onto your phone and you try and set up a camera, I think what it does is it redirects you to the website so you can set everything up there. So it's a little easier to do on your computer than it is on the phone. So we are ready to activate this camera and get it going. Now, I will give you a little disclaimer. This is my second take on this. The first take, I thought things were messed up with the camera because the lights weren't coming on, but it had set up and activated so quick, I didn't realize it was done already. I thought there was a problem, and all of a sudden it's sending pictures to my phone. So I'm going to try and go through this again for you real quick to make things a little bit easier so you see the process that's involved, which is pretty easy. So I'm going to open up my app, and you can see the pictures that my camera was taking. But if you go to the top left side, that little hamburger menu there, and you select it, it's going to tell you add a camera as the first option. So we're going to click add a camera. Now, Starter Monthly is the plan that I have right now for the 1 camera that I have out in the woods out of the 10 I have. The good thing about Tactacam and the bad thing about Tactacam is all of your cameras are going to be on the same type of plan. You cannot select a different plan for each individual camera. However, the good part about that is that all of your cameras share the total amount of photos you get. So the Starter Monthly plan has 250 pictures. So if I have 2 cameras, that's 500 pictures. One camera can take 400, the other one can take 100, as long as those 2 cameras stay below the 500 picture maximum that you have. There is also overage protection, and there's higher level plans, and I adjust my cameras throughout the year depending upon where I have them set up and how much action they're getting. So right now, I'm just gonna set this camera up on the starter monthly plan, which is what I have my other camera on. So I click continue, and up in the menu here, you're gonna see reveal 3.0 cameras. That's your first option. That's what we're going to pick. It's gonna tell you to scan the QR code, which is on the inside of the door of the camera. I'll show you here. However, it is not going to let me scan it right now because I am recording the screen on my phone. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the screen recording, and I'm going to let that scan, which there it is, it just picked it up. And now I'm going to start the screen recording again so you can see what's going on here. But yeah, unfortunately the camera on the phone won't let me do the screen record at the same time I scan something. So there we go. It's telling me to install batteries, which we already have. I've got the battery pack installed in it. I click continue. Insert the SD card. I already have the SD card inserted into this camera. I click continue. And turn your camera on. So switch your reveal into on mode. Let your reveal camera do the work. Your camera will scan for the best cellular network so you don't have to worry about switching SIM cards. So I am going to turn my camera into the on position. Now, what happened earlier was when I turned it on, I was getting this flashing light up here that you'll see, but then it all went dark. Nothing else happened. So I thought something was wrong. I thought the battery might have been dead, or I thought something wasn't working on the camera, but the camera is actually working. So we're going to click continue. I'm going to add my camera name. Now, a little tip here on your cameras, if you have multiple cameras, I number my cameras. I have them numbered 1 through 9 or whatever. So numbers 1 and 2 are open right now because I sold those cameras to a friend. So my add camera name is going to be camera number 1. And I also take a Sharpie and I write it on the camera. So it makes life a lot easier when you pause your plan and restart it again next year. I'm going to select Grundle cams because that's where my cameras go. The zip code, I'm going to add my current zip code to where I live, and all of this information is adjustable. When I take this camera in the woods, if I take it out to Pennsylvania, I'm going to change the zip code to the zip code that it's at. So I have my camera, I click continue, and now let's see what happens. It's going to tell me to wait while we activate the camera. When I went through this before, it took about a minute or so. So we're going to sit here and see what it does. There we go. It says success. The camera has connected, and it's probably sending pictures of me right now. But it's telling me to see my. I'm going to click see my cameras, and we're going to go into the setup in a minute. So see my cameras. There we are. It's popped up as number 1, and I'm going to go to the gallery, and sure enough, it's sending pictures of me right now while I am talking to you. So now we've got the camera activated and we know that it's working and it's sending pictures. So let's talk a little bit about the settings and this app that you're going to see here. When you open up your app, on the bottom row, you're going to see home, cameras, galleries, maps, and account. So all that has different information. So let's click home, and what that does is that pulls up all of your pictures, your whole picture feed for all of your cameras. So if I swipe down and refresh it, you can see it's sending pictures right now as I am talking with you. If you go to the right one and click cameras, that is where you find all of your cameras that you have on your account. And now keep in mind, if you look all the way to the right, you will see camera number 1, or at the top, camera number 1, look all the way to the right, it says 2 minutes. That means that camera checked in 2 minutes ago. If you look down at the other cameras, they all say 6 months, except for camera number 4 at my cabin. That camera checked in an hour ago because that camera is still out there operating. The rest of my cameras are suspended for the year, and I'm getting ready to reactivate them now. And so let's take a look now at we'll click on the camera, the area where the camera is at the top, number 1. We'll click basically on the battery and see what happens. Okay, right now we go in here and we get some of the settings. At the top, you can see that I have it's set on an internal battery. The battery is at 96%. My signal is strong, it's 4 bars. The SD card is 0% full, and the camera has checked in 3 minutes ago. That is your basic litmus test I guess, or thermometer to show where your camera is just by looking at it real quick. It shows what's happening with your camera. So if we scroll down, there is request for on-demand photo from camera. This is a great feature that Tactacam has started doing, and their X and also their Pro models, you can click on that and it will take a picture right then and there and send it to you. And where I found that is handy is if my camera is set on maybe a 5-minute delay and I get a picture of a deer that pops up and I want to see if that deer is still there or get another picture, I can click that and click it again and click it again. That kind of overrides the delay that you have on the camera. Or if I just want to make sure the camera is working. Usually my cameras, when I set them in the woods, I have them take a check-in photo, which we'll talk about in a minute. And that's a good way to make sure your camera is still working, but this is a different way to do it. So let's look down a little bit farther. Let's go to motion detection. That's set to sensitivity level 7. I usually keep them all at 7. That's what they come at from the factory. But if you click on that, oh, I can turn it off. I don't want to turn it off. There's probably another way to change that in the settings, but we're going to get to that, I guess. We're doing a little exploring of this. Some of this is new, the new app and the new cameras. It's a little new to me. Camera actions, so we're going to click on that. So here's where you can cancel, suspend, or delete your camera, which we're not going to do right now, but I saved this for the end of the year. We're going to go back. Camera details, let's click on that one. That gives us our camera name, which we can change here. Camera location. Some people will put like Pennsylvania, Connecticut, Indiana for their location of their cameras. I just have my name, my nickname in there, and I have all my cameras under that. And then postal code, that's where I have this camera currently. You can change that, and that gives you your weather information on your camera when you get your pictures. We're going to click back again. We've already been to the gallery, but let's get into the settings. Actually, let's skip the settings for a second and go down below. These will take real quick. So device info, this is your camera model, shows what camera you have, when the last check-in is, and here is your firmware version, hardware version, app version, that kind of stuff. That's good information to know because Tactacam will release firmware upgrades or updates. Now, I don't know if this is the most recent firmware or not because I have not checked it, but you can go to their website and check and see if you have the most recent firmware for your camera. We're going to back out of there a little bit and we're going to go to carrier info. And this tells you that the registration is active. I am on a Verizon signal, which I'm very surprised because usually AT&T has a better signal at my house. And then some number, which means something to somebody, but it means nothing to me. So we're going to click back again. And let's now check out the settings and see what the settings are at. We'll explore them a little bit. So this is the camera settings as it came from the factory, and we're going to adjust it a little bit. So we're going to start with camera mode. Camera mode is photo for default. I'm going to click on that, and now what it tells you a little bit about what each setting does, which is nice because it used to not explain the settings. But I'm going to click on photo and video because I like to have pictures and videos. Next size down, or next menu down is image size. We're going to click on that, and I keep mine set on 4K because I like a higher resolution picture. Now this takes up more room on your SD card, but if you're not getting a lot of pictures, it's probably not going to be a big issue. We're going to click back. Let's go with video size. For video size, I also like to set my cameras at the highest resolution, so I'm going to change that to full HD 1080p. I like to get real good resolution videos as well as photos. Video length. This is one of the newer things. Now you can take up to a 30-second video, which is a long time. That's a great length for a video. I leave my camera set on 15 for now. I will probably play around with the 30 seconds, but I don't want to totally fill up my memory card real fast. But that's another setting you can adjust. Multi-shot, I leave that off. What that does when you set multi-shot, it has 2 pictures or 3 pictures, so instead of snapping 1 picture, it'll snap 1, 2 pictures, or 1, 2, 3 pictures, which is kind of nice when there's a deer walking by your camera. However, keep in mind that when you have it set to picture and video, it's going to snap those 1, 2, 3 pictures and then start your video. So I prefer to leave mine set off because I just want to take 1 picture, then start my video and go from there. Multi-shot interval, that we're just going to skip over that for a minute. Multi-shot send, that is if you want to send all of your pictures, and here's other add-ons you can do in your cameras. And this, a lot of times these extra services, the $9 per month, that covers all of your cameras, not just one. Keep that in mind. Let's go to night mode. Night mode, you can change maximum range, balance, or minimum blur. And this tells you a little bit about them. So I like to keep mine on minimum blur. So you don't get as much of a range out of your flash, but it will take better pictures. The problem with the longer range is that the flash stays on longer and it slows the camera down, so you get a little bit blurry pictures. So I choose minimum blur. Battery type, we have, this will usually select it on its own, but you can adjust it yourself. There's alkaline, nickel metal hydride is usually external box, lithium batteries, and lithium cartridge. Now, a big recommendation, if you are going to use AA batteries, use lithium batteries. They are not affected by the cold and extreme temperatures like the regular AA batteries are. We click back and we'll go to flash power. I leave mine set on high because I want that camera flash to be as bright as possible. Delay, I turn my delay off when I'm setting up my camera because I want it to take a bunch of pictures. Like right now, it's probably taking dozens of pictures of me talking to you and sending them to me. So I leave it set to off when I'm setting up my camera. So that way, I can keep getting pictures sent to me while I'm out there setting the camera up without having to hit the test button. As I set my camera up and I know it's working, I'll change that delay to 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes. It all depends where I have the camera set up. If I have my camera set up over a feed or a food plot, I don't want the delay off because I'm going to get 1,000 pictures of squirrels and birds. So I will set a delay to kind of minimize that. Work timer, that's where you can set the camera to only take pictures during certain times of the day. I leave that off because I want my camera running 24/7. SD loop, I'm going to turn this off. So let's turn that off. Now what the SD loop does is, if you leave it on, as your SD card fills up, it will automatically delete your oldest pictures and start putting new pictures on there, and it will keep your SD card running in a loop. I turn that off, number one, because I don't want to delete any pictures I may want, and number two, I usually don't get that many pictures to fill my cards up anyways, and if I do, then I just go out and change the card out so I can have all my pictures. That's what I want. Settings check, hybrid. You can set your settings check to daily, instant, or hybrid. Now, what I recommend is when you're setting the camera up and you're going in the woods, set it to instant. Now, that will use up more battery power, and it's not a good idea to use that setting if you are on AA's or a lithium battery pack. But at least use it while you're in the woods. So that way, if you decide to change something in here, as soon as you click apply all settings, it's gonna be applied right then and there. Normally, in everyday mode when my camera's out there functioning, I will set that on daily. So when the camera checks in, it will look for different settings and adjust those settings. But when you're setting it up and installing it in the woods, you want to make sure that camera's working. So that's one of the settings to change to make sure your camera's working before you leave it. Send type. Now this one is set to settings check and send type. Okay, I can't change this because I have my settings checked to instant. But let's go back. We'll change my settings check to daily, and we'll go back to send type again. Now we have timely once a day, twice a day, 4 times a day. 4 times a day is something new, I believe. I think it was only once or twice before. So send type timely is as soon as something triggers your camera, boom, it will send that picture to you. That is handy to use if you are using it to monitor, let's say, a vacation property like I have at my cabin, or monitor a driveway to see if anybody's trespassing or a property. Once a day, twice a day, 4 times a day, that's nice to have when it's I use that for like off hunting season when I just get my pictures all in one shot at the end of the day because it saves on your battery power. During hunting season, I may change that to timely because I may want to know if there's a deer moving through a certain part of the property a certain time of day, so I can adjust my hunting schedule around that. But you have a little bit of a trade-off there with battery power. If you send it timely, it uses your battery more. If you send it 4 times a day, you don't get as many pictures when it's happening, but you get, or once a day, sorry. You only get your pictures once a day, but you use less battery power on that picture. And then check-in picture. I usually will turn this off on some cameras, but I also leave it on others. Cameras that I don't get a lot of activity in, I leave it on, so that way I get a check-in picture every time the camera checks in. Then I know that my camera is functioning, so we're going to turn that on. And now that we've gone through all the settings and a little bit of how I adjust mine and some tips for you to adjust yours, I'm going to click Apply All Settings. So it says here that your settings might take up to 24 hours to apply. I'm going to hit Continue. These may take a little longer, or if you turn the camera off and on, then they will apply. But I just remembered I changed my settings check to daily, so I'm going to change my settings check to instant and hit apply again. So once that takes effect, then your settings will get changed automatically right off the bat. So we've got that all down right now, and it's going to take you a little bit of time to learn your settings, learn what's best for you, how you want the camera to operate, and how you're going to use those settings to monitor your camera or maintain your camera. But those adjustments are going to be very individualized to you and how you have your camera deployed in the woods. I have multiple cameras in multiple areas, and I have different settings for each one, and different times of the year I change the settings. So there is a lot to think about when you're adjusting the settings. However, Tactacam makes it very easy to adjust the settings from the comfort of your home in your app. The settings will take effect out in your camera, and you're good to go. So I think now that's all for settings, but we'll explore a little bit more in the app here. If we go over one to the right at the bottom there, we'll see galleries. We have HD photos and videos. I'm going to click on HD photos, and I bet there's a whole, oh no, these are only HD photos. Sorry, that's if you see a picture and you want to get an HD photo. We're going to go to videos. Let's see if anything came through videos. These are videos I have saved on my phone from my property. You can see I've got some deer on the property, and I get a video of them walking by or trotting by my camera. And I also monitor for people coming on the property. So here is someone that I had authorized to go to my property, coming and going, and I can monitor now when she came to the property, when she left the property. So it's kind of handy. I'm going to select back, and I'm going to go all the way down the bottom again and click on Maps, and let's see what comes up there. So here is a picture of where my camera is, or where I am. I'm not going to zoom in because I don't want you to know where I am, but there's my other camera on the map. Now my current camera, the one we just set up, has not popped up there yet. It may take 24 hours for that camera to show up on there, so it's going to take a little bit of time, but right now it is not on there yet, but you can see my other camera is. And this is kind of nice because if that camera grows legs and walks off and the person decides to turn it on again, now you'll have a pin dropped where he is and you can go get your camera back, which comes in handy sometimes. And we're just going to go all the way back to the left to home again, and I'm going to pull down and refresh this, and as you can see, it took a picture at 1:01, 1 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 12:59, 12:59. That's because I have no delay set. So as this camera is setting here while I'm talking to you, every time I move, it's triggering the camera. So I'm going to turn this camera to off because I don't want it to keep taking pictures of me. And now we are ready to go outside and mount this camera and deploy it. So I am just going to put this camera in my backyard right now, but I'm going to show you how I set it up, how I activate it, how I turn it on, how I get it aimed properly, and then how I readjust my settings when I'm done and have this camera up and running and taking pictures. So let's go outside, let's get this camera set up on the tree, and I'll show you how to aim your camera to make sure that it's set up properly before you leave it. We've got our camera set up, we know it's working, we've adjusted our settings a little bit. So now I'm out in the woods in my it's called a 1,000-acre ranch behind my mansion. And I'm getting ready to deploy this camera for the season. So I have here on the tree, you can see this is the HME mount I was telling you about. I did a review on this. I'll post it up in the upper left-hand corner. I'm not sure which, or upper right-hand corner. I'm not sure where it's going to come up. But these are the mounts I like to use. It's got an adjustment here so your camera can swivel up and down. You can turn it left and right. You can rotate it on the screw. So these mounts have been great, and I use them all the time. This one, what I'm going to do with my Tactacams, what I like doing is I like using the mount, the screw hole mount that's directly on the back, not on the bottom. And the reason why is if I've got to change the batteries, that mount will kind of be in the way. So if I use the one in the back, I can change the battery, no problem. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to put this camera onto the mount, and I'm going to get it just angled in the general direction where I want it, and tighten up the wing nut on the back, and now I've got it pointed in the general direction that I want it. And I am going to open the door on this camera and just flip it up into setup mode. Okay, so oh, I put it too far. Put it to setup mode, and now I am going to well, I've got to start my screen recording on my phone here first, but I'm going to open up my Tactacam app, and I will be able to, once this thing gets all set up here, I will be able to connect to it with the Wi-Fi. Of course, I've got to close out my Wi-Fi. I think I would have had this all set up already, but no, I didn't. Okay, so I am, the camera's kind of doing its thing, going in setup mode. See, the little blue light is now flashing at the icon for the Wi-Fi. So if I click on the bottom right-hand side of my app here where it says account, it'll say, you can see about 3/4 of the way down, it says connect to reveal. I'll click on that. I'll turn the device on which it's on. I'll click continue, click continue, click continue, and now it is connecting to this camera. I click join, and this is one of the great features about these cameras, being able to connect to them via Wi-Fi. So now I can use my phone and see where my camera is angled before I leave. And there we go. The feed just popped up. You can see my backyard and my camera filming us. And now I can adjust this camera, do whatever I want to get it where I want the camera to be pointed. Now, if you look, you can see that red line across the front of across the middle of the screen. That red line is like the line for the optimal triggering area. And what you want is you want that red line to be horizontal with where you think the deer's body is going to be. So you want that line to go right across the middle of the deer's body, which means these cameras, you normally have to mount them about 3 feet off the ground, facing directly horizontal out. Now, I see people take the cameras and mount them up in the air pointing down. I've seen them shooting kind of up in the air because they're not angled correctly, and then people wonder why they're not getting a lot of pictures. Well, this is one of the main reasons why. I don't know what that thing popped up for, but so this is one of the main reasons why. Your camera needs to be aimed properly. Now, it doesn't mean that whatever you're going to capture has to be right in that line, but that is the optimal triggering position. So you're going to get stuff outside that line. It's just that is the best setup for it. So I am going to, you can see me on the screen there, and I'm going to leave it set basically where I have it right now. And since I have the camera where I like it, all I've got to do now is push this up to on and then close the door. And I am going to click at the upper left hand side, that red X, and now I'm going to go back to cameras, and my camera number 1, it checked in 19 hours ago. It might actually check in again in a minute here, and I am going to give it a minute or so and see how quickly I start getting pictures in. Sometimes when you set up these cameras, it takes a minute or two for it to transmit the pictures to get set up and everything, but I did see all the lights were green. I had a good signal. I had a good battery. I was connected to the cell phone towers, and there we go. It's 8:11 and 8:10. I've got my first picture already. And now this camera is going to be taking pictures of me talking to you and the back of my house. So I know now for a fact that this camera is up and running and working properly. So now what I do, once I know I've got my camera working correctly, I forgot to mention, one other way to know that is there's a test button in there. So while you are in the setup mode, click that test button, and that's going to send a picture to your phone so you know everything's connected and working. I don't use that test button enough because I set my settings up, as we talked about before, to make sure that I'm getting pictures sent to me right away. So now that I know that I've got pictures coming in, here we go, I got another one that came in again. I'm going to go back to my cameras. I am going to click on that camera, which is the number 1 camera at top. I'm going to go down to camera settings, and I am going to change some settings here, which are what I'm going to use standard in the field. First of all, my settings check, I'm going to change that from instant to daily. I want it to check for settings once a day. Send type, I'm going to keep it timely. And delay, I'm going to turn a delay on, and I'm going to set a delay for like, I'm going to call it 2 minutes. You can put the delay at whatever you want. I shouldn't get too many pictures here in my backyard. But so now once I changed my settings check and my delay, at the bottom I'm going to click apply all settings, and it could take now up to 24 hours for those settings to come through. And I'm going to go back and go back again, and I'm going to click home. I'm going to pull down. I probably have another picture that came in. Sure enough, I got a couple more pictures that came in. And I will show you how to request a video also. So if I click on the top picture, you can see the top picture. There's the little icon that shows like the play button next to new. If I think I hold that down, hold on, there's a way to do it. Okay, I click the buttons to the right of it, and then I click, there's HD photo request and video request. So I click video request, I click OK, and now at the camera's next check-in, I will get a video of us talking to each other right to my phone. Now that video is already stored on the memory card, but to get it to your phone remotely, that's how you have to do it. So I think we've got everything covered now. The camera's set up, it's ready to operate, it's working fine. We've got the settings where we want it. And remember, if you're interested in this camera or anything you've seen in this video, do me a huge favor, use those Amazon links to buy them. I would really appreciate it. Keep a lookout because I'm going to be doing a video on the Reveal Pro 3.0. I'll put a link up here to that because I should have that done by the time I get this video done. And look out for more videos coming. I'm going to do some comparison videos and a few other things. And until I see you on my next video, I wish you nothing but tight lines and short blood trails. Thanks for coming. All settings, and it could take now up to 24 hours for those settings to come through. I'm going to go back, and go back again, and I'm going to click home. I'm going to pull down. I probably have another picture that came in. Sure enough, I got a couple.